I hope everybody can hear my voice. Just give me a thumbs. Thank you so much. I'm so happy today to be the moderator of the session. This is the USRN webinar series. Today, AIMS University Social Responsibility in collaboration with University of Social Responsibility Network, or USRN, conducting this webinar. This session will explore how USR can support sustainable development in the region. And now we have already a number of prominent speakers. Miranda, by the way, I just realized this is all female speakers. I'm not really sure why, and I'm probably here only to balance the gender. But I'm so happy to see how female speakers are really, playing important roles in this educational world. Once again, I would like to welcome first to Dr. Romian. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, Dr. Jennifer O'Brien, thank you very much and welcome. We also have Dr. Lara Johannes Dothier, I hope I pronounced it close enough. Also, Dr. Joyce Teo Xuyan, thank you very much. Also, last but not least, Dr. Haja Zainab, thank you very much for joining us. We will hear from each speaker not only, but 10 minutes of presentation. And then after that, we are going to have a longer discussion, we hope. Now, before we invite all the speakers to give their 10 minutes remark or a speech, I would like to invite first Dr. Romian Kosai Kanon. I hope I pronounced it well, Romian. And then before you take the floor, I would like to briefly read the CV. Dr. Romian is the Center Director of SEAMEO RIHED and the former Vice President for International Affairs of Mai Fa Luang University in Thailand. As a feminist economist, I understand that Dr. Romian has represented women, a major group in the United Nations Conference for Sustainable Development, or Rio Plus 20. Dr. Romian, the time is yours. 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andy. And thank you also to the USRN for partnering with AIMS and SEAMEO RIHED in jointly organizing this webinar. And to set the ground for the discussion, I will not take 10 minutes. I would just take only about 5 minutes. I would like to briefly mention a little bit about the SEAMEO RIHED and also AIMS program. So RIHED is a regional organization working in Southeast Asia with our governments and also our counterparts. We are specializing in higher education, harmonization, and research, and contributing to the sustainable development of the region. But AIMS, or the full name, the Asian International Mobility for Students Program, is the largest government-supported network of universities for mobility in the SEAMEO region. So up to present, there are already 80 universities participating across 9 countries, plus Cambodia, our latest comer, who have participated in the program. And right now we have more than 6,000 alumni. With the new strategic plan of SEAMEO RIHED, the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education have endorsed our efforts towards university social responsibility and sustainable development within the SEAMEO RIHED's AIMS program at the 51st SEAMEO Council Conference in June 2021. Hence, the USR is recognized as an opportunity for universities to contribute to society and regional sustainable development. So I would like to share a little bit of information. In 2021, in July, we conducted a survey on USR activities, which demonstrated various USR activities in the AIMS member universities. So I would like to highlight a few findings. So we discovered several interesting findings. One, in general, AIMS universities are supportive of the SDGs effort. More than 80% of the universities integrate the SDGs in teaching and learning, community engagement programs and research, and university management, as well as operations and procedures. So that's the first finding. Second finding is that in terms of the USR activity, more than 80% of the respondents carried out community engagement research, volunteer services, and service projects integrated into the courses offered at the university. Third is that in terms of USR activities offered university-wide, they are provided as electives and often without credits. Only 8% of the respondents mentioned that USR activities are mandatory with credits. The fourth
I think something happened with Romian's connection. Can I confirm to other speakers? Can you hear Dr. Romian? No, right?
Yeah, probably is frozen at the moment.
Okay, Miranda, can we do something about it, or other?
Let me try to get in touch with.
Okay, or ping probably. Yes, I think she has lost the connection. All right. Okay, Miranda, I will be doing whatever you ask me to do. Should we continue?
Yes, Dr. Andy, maybe we shift the order of the presentation. What do you think?
We can
yes,
always,
to save time. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. Dr. Romian, I think we'll be able to hear your presentation later on after this. And now let us move to the first speakers of this session. The first one will be Dr. Jennifer O'Brien. I hope, Jennifer, you're ready with this. Okay, good. Allow me to read your brief bio. Dr. Jennifer O'Brien is the University of Manchester's academic lead for sustainability teaching and learning. Also Director of Teaching and Learning for Geography, inaugural fellow of the Manchester Institute of Teaching and Learning, and Teachings and Learning lead for the Manchester's Urban Observatory. Jennifer, it's 10 minutes yours.
Thank you, Dr. Andy, ever so much. If you'll just excuse me one moment, I'm just going to share some slides. Oop.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can see yours, yeah.
Lovely, thank you. I'm hoping everyone can see those. So thank you ever so much for the honor of sharing some thoughts with you today. And as I said to Dr. Andy, for the kind welcome. Now, I appreciate the USRN technically asked me to discuss global trends in social responsibility. But if I may, given everything that is happening in the world right now, in the physical world, in the social world, in health, in economics, and particularly in politics, to my mind, there is one singular priority for social responsibility. And moreover, I think this is a priority in which social responsibility can have a major impact, particularly through the Sustainable Development Goals and particularly through multi-scalar, multi-actor partnership. Okay, so if you can bear with me for a moment or two, please allow me to explain where I am coming from. So, right now, world leaders in Glasgow, so just a few hours away from where I am in Manchester right now, are discussing how we can maintain the Paris Climate Agreement, which aims to hold the increase in global temperature to well below 2 degrees centigrade. So it was 2.5 years ago that the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, said that we have 10 years to keep our global warming below the rate of 1.5 degrees centigrade. Above that, just 0.5 degree increase would significantly worsen the impacts of drought, of floods, of extreme heat, ultimately poverty for hundreds of millions of people. And I would argue to you that we are running out of time. I'd also like to suggest that climate change, climate catastrophe is not just an environmental concern. And this is where it's really important for us through social responsibility and particularly through the Sustainable Development Goals. The impacts of climate catastrophe has emerged as the biggest developmental challenge for the planet, I would argue. And its socioeconomic impacts, particularly on the poorest populations of the world, make it a major governance issue. Now, this is an image in Glasgow where frustrated people, and particularly young people, took to the streets, demanding system change and faster. And to my mind, friends, if I may, today, we all work in and around universities. And I think education is essential to tackle this key issue. So climate change, I would argue, is a worldwide issue of utmost importance, and it cannot be solved without access to right information, the right tools, the right skills. And education has a vital role to play in this. We will always need the brightest minds forging the way towards new sustainable solutions. But I'd also argue that we need to make that knowledge far more accessible to people on a global scale through whole system-wide approaches, offering opportunities to share best practice, evidence, and resources. So I use the philosophical framework of Education for Sustainable Development, often abbreviated to ESC, which was presented by UNESCO many years ago now, and has recently been updated with a new framework. And ESD, as it says there, aims to empower learners of all ages with the knowledge, the skills, the values, and the attitudes to address the interconnected global challenges that we are facing. So including climate change, environmental degradation, health inequalities, access to education, loss of biodiversity, poverty, you name it. So ESD aims to be a transformative education that allows us to make informed decisions and take both individual and collective action to change societies and to care for our holistic planet. So for me, that education has to be business as normal. I would argue too that not all students across the world have the luxury to engage in extracurricular activities. These ideas need to be accessible and need to underpin all of our educations. But terrifyingly, however, new UNESCO data that was released just this month from over 100 countries shows that only half the education sector or national curriculum documents make any reference to the interlinked challenges of climate change. And often when it was mentioned, the focus was very low. And moreover, fewer than 40% of teachers surveyed by UNESCO were confident to teach about climate change, and only 1/3 felt that they could actually explain the impacts within their city region or within their locality. And it's really notable that only this week at COP26 in Glasgow, global ministers of education and environment came together to begin to talk about how we can integrate climate change and sustainable development into learning. I think there's a real space here. I think we need to better train our trainers for them to use ESD themselves so that our teachers, our leaders in education feel empowered, feel inspired, but it also has to be accessible. Let's face it, we're all busy too, right? We can only do so much. And I would argue that underpinning that transformative education is the idea of partnership. And this is how I think the USRN can better use the SDGs together. And if I may, let me just share that with you a little bit more. So the classic definition of sustainable development, I'm sure you're all aware of it from the Brundtland report, is about ensuring the needs of the future without compromising the needs of the present. And it's often represented, as you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen, in the triple bottom line of sustainable development. So people, profit, and planet. Now, the SDGs, which I'm sure you all know, the 17 goals, 169 targets, this blueprint for a better world by 2030, also use the triple bottom line, but they bring in 2 additional Ps, peace and partnership. And to my mind, it's that partnership that offers us a really exciting opportunity to tackle, let's face it, some of these issues that we have been addressing for generations, but in a different way. Now, if I may, I'm a teacher. I'm afraid you have to engage in activity today and to learn with me. So if you allow me to evidence that in a very short exercise, I'm going to pop it into the chat box. I hope you can all see that.
Yes, yes, we can.
Thank you. So this is the link. If you open that link, please just scroll down to this box. Okay, the instructions I've explained to you. All you need to do, you'll see the SDGs. I'd like you please just to drag and drop the SDGs around the triple bottom line of sustainable development. Now, forgive me when I say don't think about it. Just go with your gut instinct. Drag and drop the SDGs. If you're feeling brave enough, please feel free to tweet it or share it with either me, USRN or Sustainable Futures, or you could pop it in the chat, but it doesn't matter. It's more about the learning opportunity. And you have 1 minute. The purple bar will come across the screen, and as it reaches the end, that's the end of your 1 minute. As I say, please don't think too much. use your gut instinct and drag the SDGs across. I will explain the rationale for this momentarily. Forgive me, I'm a teacher. I'm afraid you have to get involved in some learning. Just a few more seconds. I can see very focused looks at the moment. Okay. So what did you learn? First off, let me share with you, there are no right and wrong answers to this question. So I used this exercise at the launch of the University of Manchester's Sustainable Futures platform. So this is our global, our leading research institute that is bringing together global minds in social responsibility and sustainability and in sustainable development. And these were their results. And as you can see, what it shows is that everybody interprets the SDGs and sustainable development differently. No two, these are just screenshots of people's outputs, no two are the same. And I looked at this and I thought, oh my goodness, if we're all interpreting sustainability differently, how can we do this? But then I thought, herein lies the opportunity. If we are all viewing sustainability and the SDGs from different perspectives, think about the opportunities that we have to work together in interdisciplinary, multi-scalar partnership, bringing together new actors. And for me, that includes our students to address these issues differently. Okay. Now, I know today we're going to hear some fantastic examples of case studies from around the world of people who are doing just that. And to me, it is all about this multi-scalar partnership. And just if I may, just for a few more moments, just to share with you some of my own work. Oh, and if this exercise might be useful to anybody, please feel free to get in touch. I'm very happy to share it because it is quite thought-provoking. But just to share with you just my own work in my last 20 seconds of time. So we have a university living lab which brokers applied research between organizations at a global scale and global students. The idea is if research is needed to affect change and our students are already doing assessment, why not bring the two together? So this is an open invitation. If anyone could use our lab, if you have projects that you might like to share, if you'd like to embed this into your learning, and open an extension of partnership, please do get involved. So to end, and just before I hand over, maybe there is hope. Maybe there is hope for a troubled world through partnership, through universities, particularly through education, and by using the Sustainable Development Goals. Ideally through education, and to my mind then to view old challenges in new ways to affect change. Thank you for listening and engaging with my exercise.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Very interesting presentation. Also, I really love the exercise that you've given us. I did actually the exercise, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Practice. I did it. Thank you very much once again. Now, and also very good use of timing. I really appreciate that. It's 9 minutes something. Now I would like to go to the next speaker, Dr. Laura Johannes Dothier. Before you start, I would like to read also your short bio. Dr. Laura Johannes Dothier is a professor in the Environment and Natural Resource Graduate Program, situated at the Faculty of Business Administration at the University of Iceland. She also has a significant management and specialist experience from the financial sector. So Dr. Laura Johannes Dothier, your time is 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm also going to share my slides.
Sure.
So
yes, we can see it.
Good afternoon. You see my slides, yes. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on your location. So I'm here to present a new member of the USR network at the University of Iceland and its emphasis on sustainable development and how such emphasis can be implemented. In addition to being a full professor at the university, I'm also heading the Sustainability Committee, which is responsible for some of the aspects of the new strategy I will briefly explain. So this summer, the University of Iceland accepted and introduced a new strategy for the period of 21 to 26 under the slogan, "A better university for a better society." And it's also called a HI26, or in English, UI26. The guiding principles of UI26 are quality, trust, and agility. Sustainable development and the Sustainable Development Goals are explicitly manifested in the strategy. The strategy has 4 main pillars, which are open and international, sustainability and diversity, strength based on quality, and a good place to work. The sustainability and diversity pillar includes 4 focal points, 2 of which I want to highlight. The first one is knowledge contribution to a sustainable society, and the university will lead the way in sustainability through teaching, research, and knowledge creation. The second focal point is sustainable development, where I want to highlight that the university has measurable targets, or will place measurable targets for carbon neutrality during the strategic period. But how can sustainable development and the SDGs be integrated into the main activities of a university? One way is to use a framework from the Sustainable Development Solution Network. It includes 3 categories and 5 main steps that entail to map out what you're already doing, and I will explain this in the next slide, how we have done this. Build capacity and ownership for the SDGs, identify priorities, opportunities, and gaps, and then to integrate, implement, and embed the SDGs, and finally to monitor, evaluate, and communicate. But I would also highlight that the actions can be carried out on more than one step of these simultaneously. Within the University of Iceland, I, together with a colleague of mine, Auður Pálsdóttir, from the Sustainability Committee, we assembled a team of 5 master students to carry out a research where the science of the SDGs and the key competencies for sustainability in the course catalog and curriculum of the University of Iceland were mapped out. And the outcome was published in 2 open access papers this year in a journal called Sustainability. This slide shows the outcome of the overall science of the SDGs in the course catalog of the University of Iceland for the school year of 2018 to 19. The number of courses listed in the course catalog and analyzed was more than 3,200, and each of the course could get 1 sign per SDG, meaning maximum 17 signs per course. The total number of SDG signs evident in course descriptions and core learning outcomes was more than 4,300. This means that the average sign per course was 1.3. Signs were stronger for some SDGs than others, such as SDG 3, good health and well-being, and 4, quality education, and weaker in case of SDG 1 and SDG 2, no poverty and zero hunger, as well as SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. Before I list the outcome of the 8 key competencies essential for advancing sustainable development, as emphasized by UNESCO, I would like to briefly explain them. These are systems thinking competency. That is the ability to recognize and understand relationships, to analyze complex systems, to think of how systems are embedded within different domains and different scales, and to deal with uncertainty. Anticipatory competency focuses on the abilities to understand and evaluate multiple futures, ranging from possible to desirable. Normative competencies explains the abilities to understand and reflect on the norms, values, and that underlies one's actions. Collaboration competency highlights the ability to learn from others, to understand and respect the needs, perspectives, and actions of others, and to deal with conflicts. Critical thinking competency is the ability to question norms, practices, and opinions. Self-awareness competency stresses the importance of reflecting on one's own role in the local community and global society, and to deal with one's feelings and desires. And finally, integrated problem-solving competencies means to apply different problem-solving frameworks to complex sustainability problems. This slide shows the percentage of the 8 key competencies for achieving sustainable development as evident in the course descriptions and core goals analyzed at my university. The highest percentage are normative competencies and critical thinking, while the percentage is rather low for self-awareness and integrated problem-solving competencies. Another way to integrate these aspects into the core activities is by using a framework such as this one. It's called the 5C framework. I originally developed this framework for insurance companies, but this framework can also be used for universities, as I'm showing in this slide. But it's really important to be able to integrate this as a part of the core activities of a university, because otherwise this will always be a sideline project with minor impact. The 5 C's that are in the framework are commitment, configuration, core activities, communication, and continuous improvements. But the framework also highlights internal drivers as well as external drivers. The internal drivers include economic aspect, that means to reduce costs or, for instance, to gain more funds, and ethical motivation, which means this is the right thing to do. The external drivers include pressure from authorities that fund the university, peer pressure from other university and university networks, pressure from stakeholders, including students, and pressure from ranking agencies such as Times Higher Education and so forth and so on, all of which will impact the aspects within the 5C framework. As you can see in the framework, commitment means, in our case, the new policy of the university, or the EU strategy, that is founded in the SDGs and as well as the Paris Agreement, but also our participation in Aurora Alliance, the USR network, but also the leadership of the university, training and skills, and empowering employees to act. The configuration means, for instance, the university structure and the sustainability committee I'm heading, but also internal actions such as green steps that the organization in Iceland, like governmental organizations, need to follow, the green accounting, green flag for schools in Iceland, as well as ISO standards and more. The core activities, and I want to highlight how important this aspect is, but this is that we need to embed sustainability through teaching, research, and knowledge creation. This is most important aspect of the model. And then communication is both the internal and the external communication. It is partnership and collaboration, such as this that I'm giving talk today, but also transparency and disclosure about the information, engaging stakeholders, including students, in what we are doing. And of course, this also requires continuous improvements. Student engagement can fit into both into commitment and communication, such as at the university, we have annual green days that are hosted by our students. We have different student bodies taking part, and also opportunities related to the Aurora Alliance. And to conclude, I also want to highlight the importance of the partnership for the SDGs, goal number 17. And just to give you 2 examples, one is our participation in a network called Aurora Alliance, but Jón Atli Benediktsson, the rector of the University of Iceland, is also the president of Aurora Alliance. Aurora has a strong focus on societal impact, engaging communities, and as well as sustainability and climate change. And students' engagement and participation in societal innovation and building of sustainable societies also encouraged. And furthermore, University of Iceland has just recently been accepted to the University Social Responsibility Network, which has a strong focus on pursuit and fulfillment of university societal responsibility and betterment of universities and for the world. And with this, I'm just going to thank you for inviting me to present the University of Iceland to the Social Responsibility Network at this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura, for very good points about how to integrate SDGs into university activities. I think that's the point that you made really, really nicely. I would like to re-invite Dr. Romian, because we lost you, Dr. Romian, a few minutes ago. Please continue your presentation. I want to give this the context into the discussion there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andy, and I'm sorry that, with the technical problem, I was dropped off briefly, and I think that is very fortunate, because then I can hear a very passionate Dr. Jennifer, who are giving her speech as well, and also Laura for sharing the good practices. So where I left off is that, AIMS and also SEAMEO RIHED has got a policy directions from the Minister of Education to integrate the USR and SDG into our operation for the AIMS. And I have shared with you the findings from the survey results. And I would like to continue on the last survey results. So you can see that our university are very active in aspiring for the contributions of the SDG. They have done it on the university-wide, but mostly as an extracurricular activities without credits. But then when you are asking, if you want to make it happen for the integration of the USI aims, what do we have to do? And you will see that 33 universities, or 69%, almost 70, suggested that we should have the collaborative design for USR, which is mostly needed. And I think it's go in line with what Lara and also Jennifer said, that partnership for doing all of this is very important, and the only thing that would guarantee the success of doing the SDGs. So those are the findings that we found from the survey. So we can conclude perhaps that we have a shared vision that SDGs are crucial, and it's not because it's crucial that everybody is doing it, but because we are having a real challenge that we have to face for the future generation. And I think it's crucial that we see our roles in contributing to the goals. USR can also be seen as a way to move forward in that direction. Being aware of this information, I believe that it is a good basis for us to start talking about how we can collaborate, using the USR activities under the aims. And as you may see how this USR webinar is organized, I hope that we can learn the good practices from England and also from Iceland. And the 4 universities participated and representing in this webinar. I hope to see more opportunities for AIMS to ideate new initiatives to be integrated as part of the mobility programs. And I also hope to see possible future collaborations between AIMS and USRN. So with this, we have to remind ourselves always that we have a responsibility to groom the future global citizen for the global sustainable solutions. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Romian. Very interesting findings here, and there is a shared vision on sustainable development. Thank you so much. Now, allow me to invite Dr. Joyce Teo Xiaoyan. Dr. Joyce Teo is an Assistant Vice Chancellor and Vice President of Global Affairs at University Brunei Darussalam since March 2014. Dr. Joyce, 10 minutes for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andy. And good afternoon, good morning to everyone. And a pleasure to meet Dr. Romian again, the director of the SEAMEO RIHED, and also fellow AIMS board member, as well as the chair of the USRN, the PolyU. Nice meeting everyone this afternoon. I'm going to spend probably 8 minutes that I hoped within the time, Dr. Andy, to share experience of this cover year from UBD. Let me pull out my file for a while to help with the presentation.
Yes,
so this afternoon, I'm going to actually share the experience of University Brunei Darussalam, UBD, on our discovery year, and particularly touching on the community outreach program that has overlapped interest with the SDG goal, particularly in terms of the SDG of the 4 16, 17, 3, and 8. 4 is about the quality education. 16 is the peace, the peace and the strong institution. 16 is a partnership for all. And of course, we all know that 3 is for the good health, and the 8 is for the decent work and economic growth. So we are very glad that actually since about the year 2009, our University Brunei Darussalam, or UBD for short, we have worked with the industry to revise our program, and we call the program the Gen Next degree program for our undergraduate. Currently, we have 5 undergraduate programs that we have slashed from 42 undergraduate degrees before. So under these 5 undergraduate programs, they are all broad-based, and we focus on the life skill because we believe that the life skills, as what Professor Lara and Dr. Jennifer O'Brien have touched on this point as well, because we believe that the SDGs are very important for the current and the future generation. So we actually embed the life skills such as leadership, entrepreneurial skill, environmental awareness, critical thinking, global awareness into the program. And what is interesting in this program, I'm right with this program right from the start. So I'm going to walk through it with everyone, the audience this afternoon. What is interesting about this Gen Next degree program is our 3rd year. Our undergraduate program is a 4 years program. During the 3rd year, we have 100% of our students having a 3rd year out for an experiential learning. So no 3rd year student in the university. Pre-COVID time, we had about 80% or more than 80% of the students go out to another university, another country as well. And they undergo activities for the Gen Next Discovery Year, such as study abroad program, internship, incubation, or community outreach program. They are all have the overlapped with the 4, 16, 17, 3, 8, and more of the SDG. Particularly this afternoon, I would like to talk about the Community Outreach Program, or the COP. As you can see some of the photos over here, I particularly would like to touch on the second photo right in front of you. That is a human library project that we do outside the country, as well as inside Brunei as well, where our students spend a semester of the time. During the weekend and in the evening, they will bring books, they will help to enrich the students, particularly those students who need extra, we call it tuition in the Southeast Asia. So who need more assistance in the tuition, but couldn't go for the tuition school. Our students come in to actually, one of these COP projects is the human library. They come in to assist the student in their learning. So in return, when I ask the student what is so good about that human library, I like to ask them. And they always tell me that, you know, I learning from the student, because I don't know how good is my geography, how good is my mathematics, until I sit down, I talk to the students, and I'm learning myself. And one thing that I strongly believe in the community outreach program of UBD Discovery Year is, it is really an experience that our students are discovering themselves as well. So it's really a transformative journey. If you can give me a day, I can talk 24 hours about the COP. So that is a risky part, Dr. Andy. So I have to put a full stop here and then come back, maybe another session to talk more about that. I probably have another 2 slides to go. But in terms of the community outreach program that we actually planned it in 2009, and we did a pilot project in 2010, which I was very much involved. And we full-fledged go out, implemented it from 2011 until today. We focus on the community outreach program a lot, that not only it is interact and intervene, overlap with the sustainable development goal that I mentioned before, but most important of all, they also overlapped with the lifelong learning, and we are producing the graduates that are future ready. UBD always prepares students to be future ready. So beside the life skill we talked about just now, we also very important that we also make sure that they always be equipped with the national and the global perspective of them. 3 key principles in our Gen Next program, they are leadership and innovation, entrepreneurship, environmental awareness. As you can see, these three, as we've gone through the exercise Dr. Jennifer took us through, you can see that these have the overlap as well with the SDG. They are not implemented through offering a module. They are all embedded into our program, embedded into the module. So in the beginning, in 2009, we did have to face the issue about a mathematician coming and tell you, how am I going to put environmental awareness into teaching mathematical theory? So that was a long way of reaching out, coming to Discovery Year, particularly the COP. Anyway, Discovery Year COP, or Community Outreach Program, is a very transformative journey. I have seen thousands of students, and including their parents, who have come to tell me that, who thank UBD, thank you for giving them the transformative journey. We have seen students actually build their life skill, and then they enrich the global competence. The global competence over here, particularly, we are referring to the combinations of the knowledge, skills, attitudes, values that are akin to the global issues. And the global issues here, particularly, again, we are talking about UN SDGs here. The global issues, to refer to those that have a lot of the implications for current and future generations. I will stop here. I particularly would like to keep my slides brief because I know that we will have a Q&A, and I will be very happy to take any questions during the Q&A. So Dr. Andy, thank you.
Thank you very much. As you promised, you took only 8 minutes actually, so very good. Our next speaker will be, last but not least, Dr. Hajah Zainab. Dr. Hajah Zainab Haji Muhammad Noor is currently the Director for Department of International Affairs, or DIA, UITM Global at University of Technology Mara, or UITM. She lectures on educational assessment and evaluation, methodologies in TSL, and topics on curriculum development and management. As a certified master trainer, Dr. Hajah Zainab has trained over 5,000 lecturers in Malaysia. 10 minutes for you, Dr. Hajah Zainab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ardi. And once again, good afternoon and good morning on your side of the world. Thank you to USRN, and also thank you to SEAMEO RIHED, and of course, the AIMS family here. I'm very glad to take the honor and to be the last speaker today in sharing some of the best practices that Malaysia and of course the network of the universities in Malaysia, AIMS partner of the 10 universities that have actually participated in what I'll be sharing with you shortly. So allow me very quickly to share my screen. All right, and hopefully it will work out, and I hope everyone can see the slide.
Yes, it's good now.
Okay, all right. So very quickly, I'll be talking about a very important initiative by the Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia, and that affects all the universities on how we actually come together as Malaysian universities with what we call the Service Learning Malaysia, or SULAM. All right, the acronym and the tagline for us is University for Society. So I'll be sharing the case of Malaysian universities, and I believe Malaysia has taken a very bold step in community activities, community developments, and of course from the what we call the education blueprint of our higher education 2015 to 2025 with 10 goals. And of course, SULAM relates to the very first goal of our blueprint, looking at the holistic student, looking at, again, possible of soft skills development, leadership skills, as mentioned by Dr. Joyce and a few others earlier. So I move along. So that's very quickly of the university of where I am. And of course, UITM very quickly, to preview, to share UITM, because we are so big. We are in every state in Malaysia. And of course, we have all our partner universities, our friends, and there you can see. And interestingly, because also in Borneo, in Sabah and Sarawak. So we have our SDG, what we call our SDG research location, or SDG Borneo, and we collaborate with partners in Sabah and also Sarawak, besides West Malaysia. So of course, the partners here today, I'm glad that 10 universities in Malaysia are here, and I'm representing my colleagues and also Malaysia here. So first thing first, there is what we call a very comprehensive document produced by the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, and it's called the Sulan Playbook. So the A to Z of everything about service learning, because this time around, like I said, we have moved it one step further from COPs, community of practices. All right, this is very much what we call a credit bearing all the way, and how it's actually been embedded in the curriculum and so forth. All right, so of course, service learning, as we all know, all right, key thing, it should be experiential education. And of course, activities that's done and then must be related to community problems. And of course, at the same time, there must be reflections, and of course, finally with impact. Now for Service Learning Malaysia or University for Society, SULAM, yeah. So it's actually an innovative idea that brings higher education students towards society. And of course, the SDGs are all there. All the universities in Malaysia are what we call doing their bits and contributions to all this. And a strategy that also integrates meaningful community service. So it's just not about community activities, yeah, COPs, but this has gone beyond, and we have taken one step further to ensure that, you know, it is embedded with instruction, with reflection, and experiential learning, and civic responsibility, and of course, ultimately, it should benefit the society at the end of the day, all the communities that we are reaching out. All right, so of course, this is the Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia and used to be Ministry of Education. Okay, now, of course, the objective of SULAM, like many other service learning, all right? So first thing first is bringing theory with real world practices, all right? Integrating theory, and then, of course, improving student personality, civic skills, and citizenship, whether it's being Malaysian or being global citizens. And third is to improve the community well-being through contribution of our ideas, knowledge, skills, and competencies by students. And ultimately, we establish that synergies, the symbiotic collaboration between the students, the lecturers that are involved, to make amendments to the curriculum, to inject, yeah, the interest, and so forth. So as I mentioned, the Malaysian Higher Education Blueprint, the first prong or the first goal is to look at the higher, what we call education practices or high impact, yeah, high impact educational practices, and that is SULAM. And we believe SULAM can enhance the sense of social responsibility, religious, and also racial tolerance at the end of the day, as we can see from some of the slides, and of course, developing the 21st century skills. So we believe these are all the reasons why, yeah, we have brought service learning to another level, to align with the 21st century, and also to align with our blueprint, all right? And I move on. So like I mentioned earlier, as part of the blueprint, it is a course-based credit-bearing educational experience. So this is purely credit-bearing now we're talking about, because previously there were many activities. Of course, we're not stopping students from doing volunteer work. You know, that's still ongoing, community outreach programs. But more and more courses in the curriculum are actually encouraged to start looking at their courses, their modules, to ensure that there are some elements of credit-bearing assessments, whether in different forms of activities. And we believe at the end of the day is a SULAM pedagogy that supports humanistic and value-driven education as a key to strengthen, of course, the education system. And keywords, as you can see from the logo, is integrating love, happiness, and mutual respect. right? So I move very quickly here to some other important, and I've mentioned about it being experiential. All right. So there are many ways to introduce Sulam. It can be directly introduced. All right. It can be indirect Sulam, and you can look at some of these examples. I'm not going to read them one by one due to time constraint. And it can be in the form of what we call advocacy Sulam or research-based Sulam. So there are four different approaches to Sulam. And again, not to forget, we are also talking at quadruple helix Sulam, where we said, this is where the holistic picture, the ecosystem of what service learning should be all about. The government agency, the higher learning institutions, the industry, and of course, the community at the end of the day, because it's about improving the quality of life. So, whether it's eradicating poverty, whether it's quality of education, whichever goal that we're looking at, with the SDGs. So there she is, our current Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Norani, very forward-looking minister in terms of, recently, just this past October, we had our first National Sulam Conference. And I think that's a very beginning because universities came, reported about their activities. And mind you, Sulam was actually officiated right before COVID-19, so this is always an interesting challenge. And of course, with this physical Sulam, then came what they call the e-Sulam, all right? So the virtual Sulam came into being, just like virtual mobility and so forth, all right? So there then a university in Malaysia, like I'm from UIKM and many other universities, would translate this concept, bring in and trickle it down to the university level. And these are the activities that we do. And we do report about our achievements, what activities we have actually planned, how many we have achieved, and so forth. So we know that Sulam overall benefits students, lecturers, higher learning institution, and also community, and ultimately different. Now, it's not rosy all the way. There are issues and challenges so that we can move forward upon reflections. So lecturer readiness, cost, community cooperation, and how does industry, corporate, and agencies involve themselves in service learning Malaysia, and so forth. So with that, thank you very much. I hope I've done justice to the time given to me. All right, I shall now stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Haja Zainab, Haji Ahmad Nur, for a very nice presentation about Sulam community engagement program. We don't really have much time, honestly, but I think we have one question at least here. I think I'll just read the question to Jennifer here. I hope you're okay. I'm Irma from UBD. I'm curious to know if you have a dedicated team to drive the agenda of SDGs university-wide. Do you have that in your university? Maybe you would like to share with us. Thank you.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you. So the University of Manchester is really very proud to have been ranked first in the world by the Times Higher Education in terms of our work towards Sustainable Development Goals. And Dr. Julian Skirm, our Director of Social Responsibility, has kindly shared our report in the chat, which speaks to the work that we're doing to achieve that very, very proud accolade. So I think, yes, our teams are absolutely dedicated to this work, and the Sustainable Development Goals underpin all of our teaching, our research and operations at the University of Manchester. Social responsibility is our third goal. We do have an SR team. Myself, I'm working within teaching and learning to embed sustainability learning within all of our students' curriculum. So whilst our team are very dedicated, we don't have a team that has the SDGs within their title specifically. We're taking a much more university-wide approach to building the SDGs into everything that we do. I hope that addresses the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for the very wonderful answer. If you have any question, anybody, please type or raise your hand, or type the question probably. Okay.
I believe, Dr. Andy, there is a question from Mr. Paulo from Kyoto.
Yes, yes, please. there is another question from, can I read the first question first? Does anyone has experience assessing the satisfaction of a student in service learning? Anybody can answer this? I think probably Dr. Haja Zainab, because you have experience about this, and also Dr. Joyce later on probably can have a few words about this. Please, Dr.
Right.
Haja.
Right, thank you. I will respond to that question in terms of what students actually said, how satisfied they are when it comes to service learning. In general, from the many research outputs that have been done, students, this is the way forward for them. It's like more of real stuff. Yeah, and Generation Z, looking forward to, show me the real thing. And so taking them to the sites, putting them, like we said, at in the end of the deep pool, they experience firsthand. So, confidence building, and we saw many more what we call developmental, in terms of level of confidence, engaging with communities, using their communication skills, and there were many. And in fact, they were all measured after each program. And I'm sure if that were to be consolidated, we can see a very high level of satisfaction from students participating in service learning. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Dr. Joyce, you can add more.
Thank you, Dr. Andy. This question I love the most. Yes, the question direct to it is there is an evaluation form on the experiential learning for the COP for every student. On top of that, there are 3 key things they need to do as well. One is on the we call it, in fact, it's a self-evaluation. So students will need to write the report and to self-evaluate on how good they do and how they can improvise if they were to given another opportunity to do it better. So the report is compulsory before they can, because it's a credit bearing. So they need compulsory to fill that. And second is students. Some of the students need to form in a group to do a group presentation on the project as well. Because if you don't present, you will never know how good you are or how bad you are as well on the other side. So that is also a very key component. So beside on self-evaluation, we need to do that. Self-evaluation, the evaluation form, as well as on the presentation. And the last one that especially we are covering on the SDG topic, I must really share this experience is, we always ensure that beside what we have talked about earlier, we always ensure the senior will have a time to brief the junior. There is an overlap period, because the worst thing about community project, which I'm sure Dr. Zainab will agree, the worst part of community project is you have intermittent or interruption. The children and the community are so much looking forward for your students to come back, but they do on intermittent, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So since 2010, our participation has never been interrupted, and this is a student-led project. Student did everything. The senior will make sure they overlap with the junior to guide them what should they do in all the projects, including the human library project. So thank you, Dr. Andy. I hope I answered Mr. Paulo's question.
Yes,
thank you.
Wonderful. We have one more question in the Q&A. I think we should read this. It is very important. Are there any SDG-related public engagement or service learning partnership that happen in your institution with other universities in your region or outside your region? I think, Laura, I remember you mentioned about the G17 partnership. Remember at the last part of your presentation? You can probably comment on this.
Can you repeat the question?
Are there any SDG-related public engagement or service learning partnership that happen in your institution with other universities in your region or outside of your region? So basically, inter-university collaboration.
Yeah, I would stress the importance of the Aurora Alliance that we are taking part in, because there is a strong focus on specifically on sustainability there. And there's also a part of this is student exchange and so forth. So that is probably the most important aspect for us now, but that I can mention.
All right. Thank you very much. Wow, I think we still have a number of questions or ideas to share, but only because of the time, it's limited time that we have. We really have to end this session, unfortunately. If you allow me, I would like also to say a few information from our university. With regards to this community engagement, we have this compulsory in our university in Gajah Mada. So we are sending 7,000 to 8,000 students every year to all over Indonesia. When you talk about Indonesia, the distance is from, I think, from Ireland to Kazakhstan. That's how big Indonesia is. So we send them and they live with the community for 2 months, and it's compulsory. So nobody can graduate from our university without doing that. So I think this is probably something that we can share later on. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. I would like to say thanks to first Dr. Jennifer O'Brien, thank you very much. Professor Lara Johannes Dothier, thank you very much. Also Dr. Joyce Theo Shuyen, thank you very much also. Dr. Haja Zainab Haji Muhammad Noor, thank you very much. Also, of course, Dr. Romian, thank you very much for organizing such a great event. I will not really add anything because everybody, I think, can learn already very, very good stuff from this event. I hope everybody is happy but not satisfied. If you're not satisfied, you will keep learning. Thank you very much, and join us to thank all the speakers. Thank you very much.
Dr. Andy, before we end, can we take a good photo together with all the speakers and yourself? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Romian. Everyone, thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you. Hope to see everyone in our next webinar. Stay in touch. Thank you.
Doing a real work.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Have a
much.
good day.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.